Hey Queen, it's your girl Takia. Welcome to Queen Bee Frequency on Omega Radio, your space for growth and becoming her.
Welcome to Queen Bee Frequency, where energy shifts and queens rise. I'm your girl Takia, and today we're going to talk about something that I know challenges a lot of us, even myself, and that is the soft life. Well, understanding the soft life and working ourselves into the ground. I think society definitely um, teaches us that it's very important to work very hard. And of course, there's nothing wrong with working hard, but I think a lot of us bite off a lot more than we can actually chew. And that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about how important it is to submerge ourselves into the soft life and understanding what that means, because a few of us are probably over there saying, yeah, is she promoting that we just do nothing? No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that the soft life actually equals alignment. And all that means is, a lot of us pick up a lot of things that God didn't give us to pick up. And what I mean by that is, we are praying for certain things, whether it be a new position or, a house or whatever it is that we're working towards. And a lot of us believe that we have to work extremely hard to achieve that and overwork ourselves into the ground. And no, we pick up and bite off a lot that we cannot chew. And a lot of it is just overextending ourselves when we should be saying no, when we know that our to-do list is astronomically long and we don't even have time for ourselves. And that is a major issue. And those times where we get to spend with ourselves, we're exhausted and all we want to do is sleep. And we forget that those times of stillness is where God gives us a lot of our inspiration. When we're sitting still with Him, whether it be in prayer, whether it be in meditation, whatever it is that we like to do to connect with ourselves and feel more grounded, that is when God gives me the most inspiration. And by inspiration, I mean business ideas or just, different things that I should be doing or, whatever it is. I get that time to connect with myself and get to know who I am. When we're going, we don't get a chance to spend with ourselves and connect with ourselves. And that's a challenge, because that's something that, is a major problem because we run ourselves into the ground, like I said, and we're too exhausted to even hear from God. So while we're busy picking up a lot of the things that God didn't assign to us, we find ourselves thinking that struggle equals success, that we have to be working really hard. We have to, pick up more than we can handle in order to prove that, we're worthy of what we asked for. And no, that's not what that means. It brings me to a scripture, Matthew 11:28, and God, speaks through Matthew and pretty much gives him something to say to the people, you know, come to me, all ye who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. And that doesn't mean, for you to be sleeping, give you rest as in sleep. That means spiritual rest. Because again, God wants us to hear from Him. He wants us to be able to be well rested in order to hear His commands, in order for us to, be able to even function well enough to achieve the things that we actually want. So remember that the soft life equals alignment. It doesn't mean that you're, doing nothing, because we got to get out of this mindset that we have to burn ourselves out. So we have to ask ourselves, are we aligned or are we in survival mode? And survival mode is the quickest way to visit an ER, because I'm telling you, as a nurse, I see a lot of people, especially professionals, even doctors, find themselves in the ER, suffering from a stroke because their blood pressures are through the roof because they've taken on so much and they feel so pressured and so tired that they exhaust themselves into ending up in the ER. And we don't want to find ourselves in situations that we cannot physically get ourselves out of. So, slowing down is a benefit to us. So, the soft life also is letting go of needing approval from others. And what I mean by that is once you start slowing down and choosing yourself, there are a lot of people who you overcommitted yourself to that are going to expect that you're the same person. And once you commit to choosing peace and rest over overextending yourself, people are going to be very upset. And that is, very important for you to take into account that you can't revert back and be the version of yourself that was so tired that you didn't even get 10 minutes of free time for yourself. And how many moms out there, I'm not a mom yet, but I can only imagine what it's like having children and, always going, going, going. You have soccer practice, you have, one that's in ballet, and then you also have a life, you have work, and then you might have other activities that you do for yourself that you consider to be self care. But when do you actually have time to sit with yourself and get to know who you are and get to know the new version of yourself that you've become, because every few years we evolve and we have to get to know ourselves. And if we're so busy on the move, we're not understanding who we are. We're just overextending ourselves and not giving ourselves love and free time, even just like a spa day, just getting time to just sit in stillness with yourself and enjoying your own company is sometimes all we need. Just setting that time apart. So, ladies, I know for those of you who follow me on Instagram at the Hive Belux, I told you guys that I was going to introduce a new segment that I'm so excited about because I love to read. And though my life is so hectic sometimes, I don't often get times to, I do meditate, I do pray, I do set time aside for that. But sometimes it's really hard for me to actually sit down and read like I want to. So recently I joined Audible and I started listening to a lot of books, and one in particular that I'm going to introduce to you later. So, one thing about me, if it elevates you, I'm going to bring it to you, Queens. So, expanding your mind is one way of getting in alignment, and especially when you're on your way to becoming the best version of yourself, the version of yourself that you've prayed for. Sometimes you need a little inspiration, you need a little coaching, and that brings me to this author that I really love. I was so inspired by her book, her two of her books. That she wrote. Her name is Barbara Nelson Bennett. Go on Amazon and make sure you get these two books. They are amazing. I'm already married, but of course, I had to read one of her books called The One Burner Man, and that's what she calls her husband. You have to read the book. It's so endearing, it's so cute, and it talks about how she found him and how, she ended up getting married later in life, but she waited and she aligned perfectly with her king, and she writes about her journey, and it's so inspiring. And I definitely think that you ladies who are married, you'll definitely get a kick out of it. And her second book is preparing yourself to meet your king, and that book is phenomenal. It's really just helping you learn how to align with the version of yourself that you need to become in order to meet the person that you've been manifesting. And it's such a wonderful book. I love both books. Barbara Nelson Bennett, you guys have to check her books out. The second author, I'm actually reading this book right now. I've been wanting to read it. I put together a book club and I got so busy that I didn't actually get a chance to read it with the book club. But it's from James Clear, and it's called Atomic Habits. And ladies, for those of you who are becoming the best versions of yourself and you feel yourself elevating and stretching and becoming a stronger, more, phenomenal woman, this book is for you because as you're growing, there are certain things, certain habits that you're going to have to give up. And this book definitely helps with that. And it's, just helping you take a healthy itinerary of, the bad habits that you have, and you start one by one eliminating them. And they give really good tips on how to eliminate them. You have to read this book. It's so great. It's just daily choices that lead to your soft life that we've been talking about. And remember, ladies, the soft life does not mean laziness. Let's drive that point home, okay? This and any book that you read, you want to make sure that it helps you with a healthy mindset shift. And that is what these books that I introduced to you today will do for you. It definitely helps to expand your mind and to help you to think more healthily. And Barbara Nelson Bennett's books, if you're a single woman and you want to be married soon, definitely check her books out. They're on Amazon. So, ladies, remember this before we go, that you don't earn your rest. Okay. You don't earn it. You don't have to prove your worth to anybody. Okay. If you need rest, you need to take it. You deserve it. We deserve calm. It's normal. We deserve peace. That should be our standard. And alignment is our currency. Remember that. We need to feel aligned in order to get to where we need to be. So the soft life feels uncomfortable when we're in survival mode. So get rid of chaos and say no to the things that slip you out of alignment and make you feel like you're overextending yourself and overcommitting. And before we go, if this show resonated with you, make sure you follow me at Belux the Hive. You want or Takia Fierce, TIKEA Fierce, on Instagram, or the Hive Belux, and you'll join my mailing list as well, where I send you affirmations and daily inspiration. It was a pleasure being with you guys today, with you ladies. Excuse me. Make sure you tune in next week, next Wednesday at 10 a.m. It was a pleasure being with you. And as always, this is the program where energy shifts and queens rise.